Is imposter syndrome stopping you from going out there and being highly visible? Are thoughts such as, I'm not good enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not pretty enough, I am not an expert enough to go and speak on that stage or that podcast or to go and do that thing? Is this the narrative in your head that is stopping you from going out there and bringing in the opportunities that you know is going to create success and abundance and prosperity within your business? If this sounds like you, then this is a video for you. My name is Abigail Rebecca. I am a human design visibility mentor. I empower women to be iconic, and there is a difference between going out there and being visible and then going out there and being visible and iconic. And you will learn about this as we go ahead in this short video. So thank you so much for watching. One of the things that I really love to help my clients with is how to overcome that imposter syndrome. And look, it doesn't matter at what stage you are in your business or your life, we've all suffered from imposter syndrome. I have on many occasions, either within my corporate career or when I first was starting my business over 7 years ago now, and I continue to have that imposter syndrome. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll have heard me talk about new level, new devil. When we grow, when we're in that expansion period and we are taking ourselves out of our comfort zone, then imposter syndrome does turn up because our brain likes to keep us safe. Our brain likes to keep us in our comfort zone where it's nice and safe and nothing dangerous is going to happen to us. And then when we venture out of the cave, potentially we might be eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. So our brains serve a purpose to keep us within that comfort zone so that it's not dangerous. So it happens all the time. You know, like my client who had only been a couple of years into her business and she wasn't putting herself forward for podcasts and radio shows, and she wasn't posting a lot of content on social media as herself. Like, she was hiding behind her brand a little bit because the imposter syndrome was creating a narrative in her head of, who am I to do these things? Who am I to play so big? Who am I to be the person, the go-to person in my field? Or my other client, who is actually a very competent and capable and highly intelligent, wonderful 7-figure business owner who paid money to go to an event. It was a 30K per ticket event where she was mingling with the top high performance coaches globally, and she was so scared and so intimidated and had such huge imposter syndrome that I literally had to talk her off the toilet seat because she'd gone into the bathroom and she was hanging out in the bathroom because she didn't feel good enough to be in that room with those other entrepreneurs and other coaches, even though she had paid money to be there, right? So it can hit us at any stage, at any level. So what is it? Well, I've already spoken about it. It is our way of protecting ourselves from going out there and potentially being in danger, even though I don't particularly think that my client was in any danger being in that room. Well, she might have been. She might have been with some of the people that were in there. But no, I'm joking. She was not in danger. But her brain didn't know that. Her brain was terrified. Her brain was like, go and hide in the toilets. Like, something bad is going to happen, right? So it's our brain trying to protect ourselves. And very often it is some kind of trauma as well that is showing up potentially from childhood, which gives us the story that doing this thing is scary. So, for example, I worked with a client who, when she was 6 years old, was asked to speak up in class and tell a story in class. And she stumbled over her words and she was very nervous. And I think that, you know, something not very nice happened, right? Because she was so her. She like wet herself in front of the class, and then everyone in the class laughed at her. And then that was her interpretation of public speaking. When I speak in public, something terrible is going to happen. It's going to be embarrassing. I'm going to make a fool of myself. Everyone's going to laugh at me. So then what happened is, throughout her adult life, she was playing that narrative over and over and over again to prove herself right. So what she'd do is she would go and put herself forward and, like, you know, so she'd be like, okay, I'm going to push myself out my comfort zone. I really want to speak on stages, because she knew that speaking on stages is like the fast track to success, right? Because it really is. I mean, it brings with us credibility and impact. You know, when I speak on stage, that's where I get the majority of my clients from, especially when I'm speaking on someone else's stage. So she knew the impact of that. So she kept pushing herself forward and speaking and going and speaking on stages, but terrible things would happen to her. Like, I mean, not too terrible, but enough for her to be like, nah, what did I tell you? When I speak on stage, bad things happen. I'm not a good speaker. People laugh at me. So she was having all of these really horrendous experiences that were doing nothing for her confidence. People laughing at her, people heckling her. I mean, it was not nice things for her to go through. But guess what was happening? She was creating those scenarios. I'm not saying that she was making people laugh at her, but she was showing up in an energy. She did not have presence and impact on the stage. And you can go and ask her this. You can go onto my website. You can see her testimonial. It's not me saying this, it's her saying this, right? So she was like showing up in the vibration and the frequency and the energy of, well, I know you're not going to take me seriously and you're going to laugh at me, so I'm just going to stand here and like allow you to do that. And that's how she was showing up. So what was happening is then that she was proving herself right. So she could say, see, I told you so. She could say it to herself and others. You see, I told you so. If I speak on stage, then people are going to laugh and ridicule, or, you know, something terrible is going to happen. It might be that someone else goes and speaks on stage and has that experience, but actually they didn't have that experience when they were a child. So they're not looking to prove themselves right on it. So for example, I spoke on a stage once and I fell off it. Fell off the stage into somebody's lap. But nothing like that happened to me when I was a child. So it was very easy for me to just get up and brush it off. And yes, it was a little bit embarrassing, but I laughed it off. And, you know, it's a story that I tell now all of the time. Do you remember that time when I fell off the stage? She was finding it difficult to do that because the trauma ran deep from her childhood. So we had to go back to that particular experience and unpick it and heal that child that had had that traumatic experience, so that she could then go and stand on stage confident and competent and be able to be highly visible on stage. And as a result of that, she has created significant success within her business because she's now a public speaker. So there are different things that can show up in our lives disguised as imposter syndrome. We call it imposter syndrome, but actually they can be related to lots of different things and lots of different scenarios. So one of the things that women very often who find out what I do and they want to learn how to be more visible, or there's certain things that they feel are holding them back from being visible, they say to me, well, how can I get over this imposter syndrome? And I say to them, well, you're never going to get over imposter syndrome, because it's just going to continue to show up in your life. So here's one thing: it's never going to be cured, but I think that that's a good thing, because what it does is it kind of teaches us the significance of the events that are coming up. Okay, so we can draw strength from overcoming that particular episode of imposter syndrome. It makes us a stronger person. It makes us a more credible person. It makes us a more resilient person, a more interesting person, but it doesn't mean that you're never going to have imposter syndrome again. And I think if you never have imposter syndrome again, then like, you have to ask yourself, okay, have I desensitized myself so much that I don't have any freaking feelings anymore? Because those feelings that you have in imposter syndrome is just us having a human experience. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no right, or there's no good or bad or right or wrong with it. It just is. And it's learning how to manage that. So when people ask me, how do I overcome imposter syndrome? I'm like, you're not going to overcome it. But what you're going to do is you're going to be able to make incremental steps, like small big victories. Victory, 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 victory. And guess what? That grows into a bigger victory, until actually what happens eventually is that you do feel that you can take on the world. You've got all this confidence. And when the imposter syndrome just shows up, it's like you can just bat it away. It's just like a fly, just like, stop bothering me. So it stops being this huge force and entity in your life that's stopping you from going out and doing things, and you can just swat it away like a fly. That's where we want you to get to. So if you resonate with this is where we want you to get to. So how do you start your journey with that? Because it does take a lot of work. This is something that is going to be fixed overnight. It's not going to be fixed, but it's not something that you're going to be able to deal with overnight. It's not. If you think about it, it's years, layers upon layers upon layers of fear, limiting beliefs, talking shit about ourselves, not having boundaries, allowing other people to put us down or treat us badly, that can result in us not feeling good enough, not feeling confident enough, not feeling pretty enough, not feeling clever enough, not feeling like we've got enough knowledge to go out there and be experts in our field, and actually to go out there and be iconic leaders. I mean, anyone can go out there and be visible, but are you going to be visible like rah, rah, rah? Or you're going to be iconic? You're going to be the person that stands on that stage and every freaking person in that room remembers you, and every freaking person in that room knows who you are. It reminds me of that TikTok. Have you seen that TikTok? It's like, there's like a voiceover, like, every freaking person in this room fancies me. Like, every freaking person in this room fancies me. That's how it feels to be iconic, because you are being unforgettable. You can be speaking on a stage with like 50 speakers and you be the person that everyone remembers. And guess what? You'll also be the person that other speakers will actually refer to. Have you ever seen that when you've been on a stage and you hear other speakers refer to another speaker that's been on that stage? That is because they're talking about a speaker who's been iconic. They've been so iconic, even the other speaker is talking about them. So this is where we want you to be. Okay, you ready for this? There's a few things that I would definitely say will set you on the right track. First of all, it's really about showing up in your most potent, confident self. Removing any of those limiting beliefs, any of those blocks that is holding you from going out there and being visible, and that, you are telling yourself that you're not good enough because blah, blah, blah. Okay, fill in the gaps. So this is about really knowing your value. What is your value? What is your credibility? Owning everything that you've done in your life that bring you to this point, that makes you a credible leader in your field, that makes you a thought leader, that makes you an expert, that makes you the go-to person in your field. Because the go-to people in their fields are iconic. They're the people that stand out from the crowd, and they are the people that keep getting invited in and back and back and back to do things. The fast track to this, without a doubt, is human design. Of course, I'm going to say that. I'm a human design visibility mentor. Of course I'm going to say it, because I truly believe that's why I've chosen it as part of my toolkit and as part of my craft, because I know that when we can truly accept ourselves and understand ourselves through human design and come back to that self-love and self-belief, we know our value, we can own our value. And then it doesn't matter if you're standing on a stage and someone's laughing at you. Who cares? I don't care. I'm standing here and I know my value. And probably I'm not going to go back to that place where I'm being ridiculed or I'm not being received or I'm not being noticed. Part of that has got to do with my projector energy, so I'm kind of channeling that at the moment. But for any human design type, this is really about knowing your worth, knowing your value, and you can get that through human design. And you can also get that through various different exercises that help you to be able to strengthen your aura and accept you for who you really are. One of the first exercises that I get my new clients to do is to write down a list of all their accomplishments, everything that they've achieved in their lives, because we carry our accomplishments in our aura. When my clients walk into a room and they've done this exercise and they've done this work with me, everyone in that room is feeling like receiving their credibility and their experiences and their competence and their confidence through their aura. My clients are walking into a room and they're like, yeah, I've got this. I know how good I am. Not in a like ego way, just in a quiet, confident way. Without even saying anything, they are received in that way. In human design, you know, we talk about your defined centers. It's like when you're going into a room, like you're a radio transmitter, because people are receiving that energy and they're amplifying it. They can feel it from you. How many times have you been sat in a room and somebody's walked in the door and they haven't said a word, but you can feel their dynamic aura? You're like, oh, this is a juicy person. Like, I want to get to know them a bit more. Or maybe you're intimidated by them. That can happen as well. Okay, but this is about you being in a room and not being intimidated by others. This is about you choosing to be inspired by others and not intimidated by others. And when you are in that place, it's because you know your value and you know that you're freaking iconic. Okay, and that person over there matches your vibrational frequency. And hey, let's do a collab, or let's be friends, or, you know, let's just share a cocktail. Okay, so human design can really bring us back to that really learning our value. I've touched about it just now, but this is also about clearing your limiting beliefs, any past history, any experiences, any traumatic events that have got you to come to this place where you're feeling less than others around you. You're comparing yourself to others. Potentially you're that person in the room who's feeling intimidated by someone else's magnificence, by someone else's aura. And very often this is to do with a scenario that's happened to you in childhood, and it might be a conscious or unconscious memory, but you still hold the memory of it in your body. You know that book, Your Body Holds the Score? This is about events that have happened in our lives where we've had trauma and actually our body holds on to it. That's where stage fright comes from. When people freeze, they're so scared, they're so petrified because the stage isn't scary, but what it represents is scary. So this is about really going and doing some deep work on clearing that. And again, your human design does give you clues to that, especially in your open and undefined centers. Very often there can be some block trauma in there that needs to be cleared. We need to be very gentle and soft with ourselves when we're doing this work. And then the strength and the resilience comes out of that when we can kind of step out of that and into, you know, this newly birthed, new confident, self-assured selves. And then the third thing that I always say to people when they ask me how can I overcome imposter syndrome is how to actually manage that fear. So, I've already touched about before, this is not about overcoming it, it's about how to manage it. So if there's any fear or limiting beliefs that then feed into that imposter syndrome, it's how do you manage it? I've got this huge box of beautiful tools that I share with my clients, and not only do I share it with my clients, I help myself with it, right? And this is really a toolkit that you can use, that you can tap into, that you can pull out what you need to support you if you are feeling terrified, if you do have stage fright, if you are having imposter syndrome, if you are in that freeze or appease state with your body, where your body is resistant to moving forward, to making a decision, to committing to something, to investing in something that you know is so bloody great for you and is going to bring in all those opportunities. Or you've been invited in to speak on a stage or to appear on someone's podcast. Or you've got this incredible program that you're going to launch, that you want to share with the world, but something is stopping you from going out and sharing it in a really abundant, confident way. Kind of like an apologetic way instead of actually owning it. Maybe I'm just using different examples. My client that wasn't putting herself forward for podcast because she didn't feel that she was an expert in her area, or my client that was in the bathroom at a 30K event because she didn't feel that she belonged there, right? So it's about how do you deal with these things? Because, okay, my client phoned me from the bathroom and I picked up, but I'm not always going to be there for her. I'm not in the, I'm not in the business of having my clients to be reliant on me. I don't play that game. I don't like that game. We do the work and then they move on in a confident manner. Okay, so 10 years down the line, I don't want the same client to be calling me and going, I can't talk me out of the bathroom. That's not my job. My job is to empower her so she can talk herself out the bathroom and go into that room and be freaking iconic and show up and have all those incredible experiences and meet the people that are going to be able to open doors for her future, right? Because that's why she paid to be in that room. My job is not to continue to do that. So I was teaching her the skills to be able to do that. Okay, she doesn't have to do that with me anymore. She is in there, even higher ticket events like rocking it, being her iconic self. So this is the beginning of everything. So as I said to you before, it does not matter what stage you are in your business, at what level. Every time we expand, every time we play a bigger game, every time we go to push ourselves out of our comfort zone, very often these thoughts can show up, but it's for you to decide, is it going to be like a huge freaking hippopotamus in front of you that you can't push out of the way? You can't get past it because it's so big it takes up the room? Or is it going to be a little fly that you can swat away? Well, it's your decision, it's your choice. Because if you don't do the work, if you don't do this work, there will always be a massive hippopotamus in front of you, chewing on some grass, minding its own business, standing in your way. And at the other side of that hippopotamus is all the success, the credibility, the experiences, the life experiences, the bliss, the joy, the abundance, the prosperity is all there. But you're not going to be able to get to it because this freaking hippopotamus is in the way. If you do the inner work, if you decide that you want to do this work, you want to find out about your human design, you want to get to know yourself more, you want to be able to heal maybe any of the limiting beliefs, the trauma, the fear that's showing up in your life, you want to strengthen your aura and you want to show up and you want to be iconic. You don't want to do the chasing anymore. You want to be able to show up with gravitas in a room where every single person in that room's paid 30k plus for a ticket. If you want to show up like that, then you got to do the work. It's not just gonna like magically like bing, like everything's gonna go away. It doesn't work like that. It's, you know, you are a bottleneck within your business, and your business is not going to grow if you are the person that is holding everything back. You need to be able to expand for your business to expand, and that takes beautiful inner work. So if you want to find out how to do this work, there are a few things that you can do. You can go over to my website, abigailrebecca.com. There's loads of courses on there that you can take. You can book a human design session with me. You can do all of those things. If you really want to go there and you want to do this work so that you can stand up as an iconic leader and visible leader in your field, then reach out to me. You can send me an email, hello@abigailrebecca.com, or you can reach me on my website, and let's have a conversation about what that would look like. If you want to hire me to be your mentor, to guide you through, just like I've guided thousands of women now through this process over the last 25 years of leading and mentoring and coaching female leaders at a very high level, either in corporate or in my business now that I've ran for nearly 8 years now. It's coming up to 8 years. If you want to learn more about that, then reach out and let's have a conversation. I'd love to have a chat with you. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope that this is giving you some really great information and things to be able to go and look and focus on and contemplate on. And I'd really love to know your thoughts below. I hope you have an amazing day, whatever you're doing, and I will see you soon.